through a summer youth camp. Life changed after that. We started attending Bible studies, worship services, and discipleship groups. I remember in one of our youth Bible study meetings, we were asked to list down the qualities we wanted in a mate. I remember listing down the qualities: tall, chinito, knows how to sing, can play even one musical instrument, has good relationship with his family, and of course, loves the Lord more than anything else. I went through high school, had different sets of friends, but somehow I knew that I haven't met the one. There were times when I wanted to settle and lower down my qualifications. I wondered and asked the Lord, how in the world am I going to meet the one He prepared for me when all the guys I knew barely had those qualifications? Does that person even exist, Lord? I remember sighing whenever I would hear testimonies from couples on how the Lord made their paths cross. Deep down, I wanted to have the same love story. I wanted to have something that I would be proud to share with the whole world and say that it was God who authored our love story all along. In 2003, my family transferred to Davao. It was a devastating experience for me. I knew no one in Davao. I was about to enter college, and my dream of being in one of the top university schools in Manila was put on hold indefinitely. I didn't want to go to Davao, but the Lord spoke to me in one of my quiet times through Ephesians 6 verses 1 to 3. It says, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for it is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, that it may go well with you and you may live long on earth." Claiming that verse in my life, I obeyed my parents to go with them here in Davao. Surely it is the first commandment with a promise. The Lord has blessed me so much in our stay in Davao. We have a very nice home. I studied in a prestigious school and even graduated accountancy with honors. I passed the CPA board exam and got employed in the biggest auditing firm in the country. It was there that John and I met. When we were introduced to our office mates, John stood out to me because of his real name, Emma John Sola. Very unique name for a guy, I said to myself. And with his surname, he may be the brother of my classmate's crush way back in college. What a small world. John and I had no audit engagements together when we were in SGB. I only knew him as a good guy who would pray during office events and when there's pakain in the office. At one point, I even called him Kuya John. This was what some of our office mates used to call him. I did not notice him not until one night when I was doing overtime in the office and he was about to go home and leave me alone in the office. He asked if it was okay for me to be alone and I said yes, since our office mates are already going back from their dinner. He left and after 10 to 15 minutes, the phone rang and there was John checking on me. From then on, I had a secret crush on him. Eventually, I found out that he was a member of their church music ministry, and we started talking through our internal chat system in the office, exchanging Christian music and talking about our ministries in our respective churches. I was contented with my single life back then. I didn't have any problems with me not having any boyfriend at that point in time. And so when John asked me if he could court me, the first thing I told him was to ask permission from my parents. I told him to ask permission, thinking that he would never have the guts to talk to my parents. But he did. I was shocked. There I was, all contented with the Lord, and suddenly, a guy comes into my life asking my parents' permission to court me. Wow, just like in the testimonies I used to hear way back in high school. I told the Lord that if He wanted our friendship to move into the next level, He would be the one to arrange it for us. I don't need to insert any effort at all. At that time, John was leaving for Dubai. He got an offer for a competitor auditing firm, and he was leaving after a month. I'm not a fan of long-distance relationships. It requires a lot of work, and I don't think I wanted to have one that time. And so I told John that it would be better if we wait and just see what happens next. John and I were in constant communication while he was in Dubai. He would tell me how hard his work is as compared here in the Philippines, and I would encourage him through God's Word. I would tell him to listen to CCS messages online while he was still looking for a church there in Dubai. He in turn would encourage me to still serve in the church ministry even though our audit work requires longer hours. In one of my quiet times, I was asking the Lord whether He wants me to get into a relationship with John. And all of a sudden, I remembered the list I made when I was in high school. Tall, chinito, knows how to sing, can play even one musical instrument, has good relationship with his family, and of course loves the Lord more than anything else. John was tall. He is somewhat chinito. He is in the music ministry of their church, both as a choir and as a band member. His relationship with his family is very tight, and he seeks God more than anything else. I also remembered the talk I had with one of my pastor friends before. He told me that if I wanted to get into a relationship with someone, it should be with a guy who can lead me and our future family closer to God. Someone who can be a spiritual leader. And God impressed in my heart that John is the one. I wanted God to give me another confirmation. And so I told him that I would ask my parents' approval before John and I enter into a relationship. My parents don't usually allow me. Based on experience, they would tell me every single reason why they don't like the guy and why I shouldn't entertain him. But the moment I asked them if I could enter into a relationship with John, they said yes. I was again shocked. I couldn't believe it. My parents allowed me, for the very first time, to have a boyfriend. They asked me if I could see John as my husband, and I shared with them the qualities I saw in John, which made me like him. Being in a long-distance relationship was not easy. Countless phone calls, emails, online chats. Even up to now, John and I would wonder how we kept our love for each other growing. People would wonder and ask us if there were times when we felt that our love is not as strong as before, and we would say never. Never did we feel that way. On the contrary, we feel that it is growing more and more. We believe that it is God who sustained our relationship. During our chats or phone calls, we would have our devotional and ask each other to share our insights and end our talk in prayer. I know that by our own strength, our relationship wouldn't last. But because of God's grace, we are here right now, committing the rest of our lives to become husband and wife before God. It is only God who comforted us whenever we would miss each other so much. And I believe that the Lord allowed us to be apart so we can fill ourselves first with His love, be contented on Him first before we enter into marriage. I am amazed on how the Lord orchestrated everything in our lives for John and I to meet. He moved my family from Bulacan to Davao just so we can meet in SGB. He allowed John to go to Dubai so both of us can focus on the Lord while we were in our relationship. He gave us time to mature and get to know Him fully before we enter into the next season of our lives called marriage. It is only God who made this relationship work and who will make this marriage work. To the great author of our love story be all the glory forever and ever.